You're listening to Her Money, Her Business, a podcast for women starting or growing their own business. And it features episodes about knowing your finances, improving your money confidence, and growing a profitable business that's built to last. If you wish you were good with money, want to feel more confident managing your money, or want to struggle less while making money, then you're in the right place. I'm your host, Sonja Balzarolo, business financials coach, bookkeeper, and champion for women who want to be the master of their own financials. So let's get started.
Hello and welcome back to the podcast. So this is episode 34. This month I am talking all about cash flow and the topic of cash flow for women in business. So today's podcast episode is all about strategies for managing cash flow. So first of all, what is cash flow? So cash flow is just the amount of cash that's flowing in and out of your business, or the money in and the money out. So this includes incoming sales paid to you by your customers, your clients for your products and services, and the outgoing expenses like salaries, rent, utilities, your tools of the trade, stock if you're a product business, etc. So the goal is to have more money coming in than going out. So you're staying in the green rather than being in the red, which is more money going out than coming in. So that is cash flow. And cash flow, why is it important to manage your cash flow? Well, there's lots of reasons, but I want to just cover off a couple, and then we'll talk about some strategies around managing your cash flow. So the importance of cash flow to your business is that when you know your money, you can grow your business. When you have money, you can grow your business. And when you have confidence in what you're doing and how you're managing your money, then you will be more likely to invest and grow your business. So that's a really good reason to manage your cash flow. 75% of businesses report that cash flow is an issue for them in their business. So they're constantly having to move money around, wait to pay bills until the cash flow improves, worrying about cash flow. That's a lot of people worrying about the cash flow and the money in their business. So managing your cash flow also helps you improve the financial health of your business. So when you focus on it, you're actually more likely to improve the health of your business. It'll reduce that financially induced stress that, as I said, 75% of people report the cash flow as an issue. The stress that brings on is huge for any business owner. So helping you manage your cash flow better will help to reduce some of that financially induced stress that we have as business owners. And not managing your cash flow can end up in things like being in debt, having losses in your business. And over time, that is just unprofitable and also unsustainable. I mean, the worst case scenario is not managing your cash well and constantly being at a loss in your business. So there's more money going out than coming in. It can actually end up with you having to close your business. And I don't want that for you, and I'm sure you don't want that for you either. So managing cash flow really is an important part of running a business. So let's talk about some of the strategies on how you can better manage the cash flow in your business. So I'm going to talk about some practical tips around effective cash flow management, about leveraging technology, about building financial cushions and contingency plans, and cultivating a mindset for financial empowerment. But before we jump into that, I also wanted to just help you understand and just have a knowledge of the issues that women, as women in business, women entrepreneurs, women running businesses, the cash flow challenges that we face. So we have some unique cash flow challenges just by being women in business. Now, it's not an excuse. It's not something that, we're just sitting on our soapboxes and complaining about, but there is a reality here around why cash flow, in particular for women in business, is a problem to manage, more so than men running businesses. So the first one is access to funding. So funding is not necessarily directly linked to cash flow. It doesn't have to be, but it can be if you want to have some capital to invest in to grow your business, to have growth initiatives, to get your business through financially difficult times or ebbs and flows of your business if you're seasonal, etc. And historically, there are challenges in women accessing funding compared to men. It's just a fact. It's a reality of life. I don't have the stats with me today, but there are stats around the percentage of women that get funding for their businesses versus men. The statistics are astounding. It's something like 5% of women getting funding in their businesses in comparison to 95% of men. So it is a fact. It happens, and it is just a unique cash flow challenge that we have. Societal biases following on from that, taking businesses run by women seriously, being hindered, again, comes back to access to funding, being hindered around getting access to loans. If you're a woman-run business, I've heard horror stories of people going to banks and the people at the bank wanting to meet with the husband of the woman going for a loan for her own business. I mean, ridiculous stuff. That should not happen in this day and age, but apparently it's happening out there. So there are societal biases around that. Even just having opportunities to get financing, to access contracts and investment opportunities, these are all things that we come up against as women in business, unfortunately. Your business might not be at the stage where you have any interest in bringing in capital or getting loans or going for large contracts or doing any of that. But it is in businesses run by women, it is a unique cash flow challenge. Industry disparity. So there are a lot of underrepresentation for women in industries that traditionally generate high revenues and profit margins. So that means a lower earning potential and profit margin challenges to women in business being able to achieve a healthy cash flow. General fluctuations of inconsistency in our business, in our availability and productivity due to family commitments, if you're running your own business, and the stage of life cycle of children and family for you in comparison to where you are in your business. So all of these things are unique to women in business. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't happen for men, but in general, the majority of women are the ones who are looking after everything outside of themselves and their business. If you've got families, if you've got children, etc. So if you've got young children versus teenagers versus older children, that stage of life cycle of your children and your family has a direct impact on what you're able to achieve in your business. It's just the reality. Now, I'm not talking about people who have personal assistants and nannies and cooks and all those other things. You know, they're running a huge successful business and have the ability to change this inconsistency around availability and productivity. But for who I think you are in business and where I am in business, I certainly don't have those things. And I'm sure you probably don't either if you're listening to this podcast. And therefore, inconsistency in you being available to your business full time and the productivity you can achieve is affected by your family. So that is a unique cash flow challenge. We also, as women in business, have some barriers around accessing supportive networks and communities that help us navigate financial challenges and guidance. So I know that that is changing, and there are lots of community groups, etc., both online and offline, in person, that help women in business. But we certainly do have barriers to accessing those things. If you're a mum who works from home and you've got kids at home and you're doing your business from home to help with that, the likelihood of you being able to get out and access networking one-on-one opportunities, I know for myself, when I had younger kids, that was very limiting. Yes, there are online communities, but it's just as challenging to find the time to do that and access those communities versus men and their ability to get out and do those things for their business. It's just a reality. And also, we as women in business have a higher level of risk aversion compared to men. So that also means that some of the things we're going to talk about around cash flow management, if you have a high level of risk aversion, then you may struggle or have struggled, and you might identify that from here and from this podcast episode as something you want to change, but it's definitely a unique cash flow challenge. So that is all I want to say about that. I just want to make you aware that there are things that you need to consider that make it more difficult for us as women in business to manage our cash flow, but it's not to be used as an excuse. It's just to be aware of it and to know that you might not be able to do everything to change your cash flow situation, but you can make small steps, make some changes and move forward and put some things in place slowly as you can do those things and get better and better at cash flow management. So let's talk about some practical tips for effective cash flow management. Over the next few weeks, I'm going to talk more about cash flow management. So I'm not going to have lots of solutions today. I'm going to start with some really basic things you can put in place, and then we will expand on it over the next couple of podcast episodes and give you more information. So the first thing I wanted to talk about, or the first practical tip, is establishing a cash flow forecast. Now, this may seem straightforward, but it's absolutely one of the first things that you should have a look at. In my course, Money In, Money Out, which sponsors this podcast, and there are links that I will provide at the end and in the show notes to a discount for you as a listener to get into the Money In, Money Out course, there is a forecasting spreadsheet in there that helps you do this. And we'll talk also a little bit more about some tools and things that will help you do that as well if you want to do it online. But basically, having a forecast on your cash flow is estimating projected sales and expenses so you can anticipate your cash incoming and outgoing. So making sure you've got enough money in the bank to run your business in the coming months, and decide when you can afford to expand and spend. So you're making informed financial decisions. You're not unconsciously spending money and then realizing that you've created a cash flow problem in the coming months to pay for the things that run your business. So having a forecast and being able to look at the cash in the bank today, all your bills that have got to come out on top of that cash flow, using that cash flow, the money that's coming in from bills that are going to sales, and invoices that are going to be paid in the coming months, and putting all of that together to see where your cash flow falls each month. And also doing that in advance, at least a few months, helps you steer the ship. So if you can see a gap coming in 3 months' time, you've got time to do whatever you need to do to sell more to fill that gap or to pull back on some expenses. So you can pull those levers as you need to, but you need to have that information first, and that's a cash flow forecast. You also need to have a way of budgeting and expense tracking. So creating a budget and then having a way of tracking your expenses to that budget so you're not overspending and that you're achieving some sales goals that you've put in place. So then you can identify areas to save and also to optimize spending to outcomes. So it's not all about saving money and just not spending anything, because sometimes you need to outlay money and spend to actually get some better results. So it's just about having information on what your bottom line is around your expenses, tracking that, seeing how you're tracking to it, and having some sort of budget to stick to. So that's budget and expense tracking. And the third thing that can really make a difference on cash flow is your invoice management. Now, I talk a fair bit about this in the Money In, Money Out course. There's really a whole section on this. But basically, it's about having timely invoicing. So if you do the work or you sell the product, you get the invoice out so it's paid quickly. Leaving money on the table is doing some work today and not invoicing it for 2 weeks, etc. And I see that happen a lot. So timely invoicing helps with your cash flow. You've done the work, you want the money coming back into you. Timely follow-up of overdue payments. This is equally important. Having a system in place to chase up money owed to you is important. The longer money is outstanding, or the bigger the debtor days, the more and more likely it gets, the percentages increase of the likelihood of you not being able to collect that money. So the client actually refusing or defaulting or going broke and can't pay their bills or whatever the case may be. So really having a good system in place to chase up money outstanding to you and doing that often and quickly until that bill's paid is important. And the last one I want to say on this is payment terms. You should have payment terms that work for you, not for your clients. So unless you're in a contract where the client has stipulated and you've agreed to a certain number of days that they have to pay their bills, set your own payment terms. You don't need to have payment terms. Have $0 days payment terms if you like. I do. If I've done the work, my invoice is due today. The next section I want to talk about is using technology to help you with your cash flow management. So there are lots of tools and software out there that are designed to simplify cash flow management. And if you have the ability to use them, if cash flow is a real problem for you, then I definitely think you should be looking at them. So the first one I suggest, and the only accounting software that I work with, is Xero. So Xero has in place a built-in tool to help with cash flow management. If you're using accounting software like Xero or MyOb, etc., I don't know if MyOb and the others actually offer cash flow management. I'm sure they probably are on board and do that. But you really should be thinking about your accounting software as not just something that issues invoices and collects payments. So the free tools that are available to people, I can't think of the names of them, but there are accounting software out there that's free to use or very small dollars cost per month. But those really are just issuing invoices and collecting payments. That's all they're built to do. Reporting capabilities on them are fairly simple. Something like Xero gives you things like cash flow management to really help you manage your business. And they really are great tools to use. In Xero and other accounting software, but I'm just talking really about Xero because that's my area of expertise and I love it. You can also go into the App Store and add apps on, depending on what your business needs and how complex you want your cash flow management to be. So I'll put these in the show notes because they've got some funny names, but there are some cash flow management apps that can bolt onto Xero. So there's Float, Fathom, Virtually, Predict, and Cashflow Frog. So they've all got varying ways of using them and different offerings, etc., that they do. So if you're thinking that that would be a way to go, then I would definitely go and check them out and do your research. I think most of them, if not all of them, have free trials, so you can just play around with them and see whether they'll work for you or not. So that's an option. I also always suggest that you set up your accounting software to give you more valuable business reports than just counting and recording and reconciling and that sort of thing. Xero, as an example, has a job tracking tool. So I'll talk about using these accounting tools in another episode. There's things like a job tracking tool where you can put all your expenses and income for a particular job against a job, name that job, and then you can run a P&L just for that job to show you how profitable it is or not. You can use the chart of accounts in Xero to really break down your different revenue streams so you can actually see how much revenue the different revenue streams are bringing in and how profitable they are and where most of your income's coming from. Accurately record your expenses using, again, the chart of accounts and really break them down so you can see where your money's going. The other thing you should also be doing is entering excellent data. So what you get out of an accounting system is equal to what you put in. So if you put crap in, you get crap out. The other technology you can use is things like Excel and Google Sheets. So using a spreadsheet with a simple budget and expense tracking is equally a good starting point. And of course, the cash flow forecast spreadsheet that I mentioned is definitely one that you could have a look at if you join the Money in, Money Out mini course. Okay, so another strategy you need to have a think about, it may not be right for you right now, but building a financial cushion and contingency plan. So it's important to have some emergency funds and reserves to weather cash flow disruptions. So I know for a small business owner, this is very difficult to do, but it's something to think about and aim for if you're not doing that or can't do that right now. Also, exploring options for lines of credit or alternative financing sources to bridge cash flow gaps. So again, this is not important for all businesses and might not be possible for all businesses, but it's certainly something as you grow your business that you might want to have a think about. Obviously, doing the due diligence and making sure you're not paying ridiculous amounts of interest, etc., if you do have a line of credit, but it can be something to help you through cash flow. Do you have staff and things, and you're waiting for invoices to come in, but you've got to pay your staff, and often there's an overlap period there, etc. There's lots of things like that having a line of credit can help you out, as long as you're not using it as a crutch and getting yourself into debt and trouble, managing that responsibly. Okay, so the last step I wanted to talk about is around cultivating a mindset of financial empowerment. Now, in episode 35, I'm actually going to talk more about mindset barriers related to money management, financial literacy, and also cash flow management. But I thought it was important just to mention that it really is crucial for you to take control of your own finances and seek support from mentors or financial coaches like myself or advisors that will allow you to create a positive mindset for financial empowerment, to really give you confidence and the tools and the mindset that you can do this, that you can manage your cash flow well, have a successful business, have a profitable business that's built to last, that's sustainable, and that allows you to build resilience and weather through any seasonal changes, any cash flow disruptions, anything like that that comes along. You can deal with those things because you've got some plans in place and you're confident managing your money. So we'll talk about that in episode 35, but it's definitely part of the strategies of cash flow management. So in conclusion, I wanted to just recap that we've talked about what is cash flow management. We've talked about the importance of it, and we have had a look at the cash flow challenges for us as women in business. And then we went through the practical tips that I have as a starting point for you to look at effective cash flow management. So that was establishing the cash flow forecast, having a budget and expense tracking system in place, and really looking at how you manage your invoices. We talked about some tools and leveraging technology. I mentioned needing to think about building a financial cushion and also cultivating a mindset of financial empowerment for yourself and working on that. So I hope that this episode has been a starting point or a reminder, if you're already doing some of these things, or even some motivation to take that next step and move to that next level of cash flow management. It is a crucial part of business and crucial for women in business to have the confidence to manage their cash flow successfully and set yourself up for success. So that's it for today's episode. Thanks for joining me and listening through if you've made it to the end here. Keep listening for the last little segment where you'll get that code if you're interested in joining the Money in, Money Out course and get that 15% discount code. Otherwise, I look forward to talking to you on the next episode. Bye for now. This episode was brought to you by my mini course, Money in, Money Out. Head over to the website, blossomingbusiness.com.au for this episode's show notes under podcasts. And if you're ready to stop flying blind and tackle those finances, then sign up and get started on the Money in, Money Out course. So for still being here and being a podcast listener, you can use the discount code MIMO15 and get 15% off the course. So that's MIMO, number 1 and number 5, MIMO15. So you've been listening to the Her Money, Her Business podcast with me, Sonja Balzarolo. If you've enjoyed this episode, please also head over to iTunes and leave us a review. It really does help to get the podcast out to more people, and I love hearing your feedback. So thanks for listening. Here's to knowing your finances and growing your business, because it's your money and your business.